The time is 7:31, and I will now call this meeting of the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So, has everyone reviewed the minutes from January 5th?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes. I'll second that motion.
Any errors, changes, omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Oh, and who, for a
Sean
recording
made it, I
secretary?
second, John Dillon seconded.
Thank you. All right, number 4, acceptance of the agenda. Is there I have no changes.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
Ralph makes a motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sean. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Communications and correspondence. I have one tonight. We have a special proclamation because we have a former resident of Portland who is now a resident of Middletown, but who lived in Portland for many years, and she has recently just turned 100 years old. So we would like to wish Ethel Peltz a happy 100 years.
God bless
And yes, God bless her. And we have this proclamation that's signed by the Board of Selectmen, and our own Lou Pear is her nephew. If I'm yep. So Lou, did you want to say anything?
Just a few words, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the first thing I'd like to do is thank you all for recognizing Ethel for her centenarian life. She loves Portland, always has loved Portland. She talks a lot about the people that she knows in town. She talks about graduating from Portland High School, which is now Brownstone Intermediate School. She was one of the first graduates of the Portland High School on Main Street. She also talks a lot about the friends that she has met through the Portland Historical Society. Many of these people she grew up with. Many are family members of the people she grew up with. So she enjoys that as well. And every once in a while she'll talk about the hurricane of 1938 when she would have to go to work in Middletown. And the only way to get from Portland to Middletown was to walk across the railroad bridge. So you have to kind of imagine the water is now 2 inches up to the railroad tracks, or 2 inches space between the tracks and the river. And you have to walk across that. It's a little scary, and there's not a lot, it's not like a sidewalk. It's probably about 2 feet, maybe 1.5 feet wide, center area in between the tracks to get to Middletown. So she talks all about that and how that was a tough time for the people in Portland. So on behalf of the family and on behalf of Ethel Peltz, thank you very much. You've done a great job in recognizing people over the years, and Ethel will be honored to be recognized tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. And I'll read the proclamation here. This is to Ethel Ann Grover Peltz for 100 years on January 11th, 2022. Whereas Ethel Ann Grover was born on January 11th, 1922 in Middletown, Connecticut, the youngest of 8 children, and whereas during World War II, Ethel worked in her parents' general store, which is now Anderson Farm Supply, and whereas in 1940, Ethel graduated from Portland High School and was designated as class orator. In 1941, she graduated from Temple University and enjoyed a career as a dental hygienist, first working for her brothers, Dr. Alexander Grower and Dr. Israel Grower in Portland and Middletown, respectively. She also worked as the dental hygienist for the parochial schools in Middletown, St. Mary's, St. John's, and St. Sebastian's. She later worked for Dr. Flanner in Durham and Dr. Zainitz in Haddam. Whereas Ethel and her husband, Charles Peltz, were married in 1947, parents to 2 children, Lois and Robert, grandparents to 2, Jeremy and David, and whereas Ethel is a life member of the Portland Historical Society, White Oaks Doll Club, and Hadash, as well as a member of the League of Women Voters. By invitation from Senator Christopher Dodd, she attended the presidential inauguration of Barack Obama in 2008. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman of the Town of Portland, Connecticut, do hereby applaud Ethel Grower Peltz for a life lived well and wish the happiest 100th birthday celebration. Acknowledged on the 19th day of January in the year 2022, signed by Ryan J. Curley, John H. Dillon, Michael S. Hernandez, Robert W. Hetrick Jr., Sean P. Manning, Michael A. Pelton, and Ralph R. Zampano. So congratulations. And Lou, I think we're going to deliver this maybe to her?
I called today and we still could go to that facility, and we'll make an appointment.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. All right, that's all the communications I had today. Next up, we have public comment. I know Kathy Herron is here with Complete Streets and Bob as well. Hi, guys. Do you want to come up and speak?
What's the policy for my mask? Can I take it off or not?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you can take it off if you're at the podium. Yeah.
Okay. So as Ryan said, my name is Kathy Herron. I live at 23 Old Homestead Village, and I'm here to talk to you about Complete Streets. But first I want to say congratulations to all of you, re-elected or recently elected to the Board of Selectmen. Look forward to working with you. So I'm the chairperson of CSG, as we like to call ourselves, Complete Streets Group. And we began almost 8 years ago, it's hard to believe, in March of 2014. And I'm here with you tonight, as well as my husband, Bob Herron, who's also on the committee. And I think there's probably a few of our virtual members that are zooming in to talk to you about Complete Streets. So if you're not aware, Complete Streets is a national movement to make our streets safe and accessible for everyone. For the motor vehicles, the people in the motor vehicles, the pedestrians, the cyclists, the people who have mobility challenges or maybe are crossing the street in a wheelchair, as well as people who take public transportation. I think many years ago, the roads was sort of taken over by the cars, and we want to take some of that back to make it for everyone. So our mission as a group in Portland is first and foremost to make the streets safe and accessible for all. But we also have 2 other missions. One is to encourage non-motorized transportation for the health of the individual and the health of our planet. And the third thing is to promote healthy living. If you only live a half a mile from the store and you're able to walk or bike, we encourage that instead of getting in your car. So I want to talk briefly about a couple of accomplishments that we feel we've taken part in with the town. The first is back in the fall of 2016, the town of Portland passed a Complete Streets policy. This is something that many towns and cities have across the country and the world, but certainly not the majority. So what is a Complete Streets policy? It is a way, basically a guide that the town should always consider when they're making decisions on any transportation or sidewalk or street infrastructure project. It's also a way to get funding. If a grant is open and they see that the town of Portland has a Complete Streets policy, they know that we're serious about this, and it's definitely a positive in our favor for obtaining grants at state, regional, and local level. So some of the goals of our Complete Streets policy is first and foremost, making Portland roads safer by increasing the capacity for various uses while decreasing the rate and severity of vehicle, pedestrian, and bicycle crashes. I'm sure if you've been reading the news, you know in the last 2 years, pedestrian deaths are up. You would think they would be down during this time when fewer people are going to work and going to places, but they actually have increased. Another goal of the policy is, as I mentioned earlier, enabling healthier lifestyle choices by providing an increase in walking and biking. We've done a lot of sidewalk work in Portland, especially in the downtown area in the last, 4 to 6 years. We want to encourage people to be able to safely walk in our downtown area. And the last thing, one of the last goals, only goals in the policy, is expanding the network of safe walking and bike routes to schools. Many of our children do live within a half a mile or maybe a mile from our schools, but if you're on the streets at that time when school is starting, there are very few that walk or bike. We want to encourage more children and more families to do that, and we can do that by making safer walking and bike routes. So that's the policy. Another major focus of our work, as I've already mentioned, is sidewalks in the downtown area. Portland has reconstructed or added new sidewalks on many of our downtown streets in recent years, and I'm sure all of you have walked on some of those. We have been a big advocate of improving the downtown sidewalks by recommending monies in the 2016 town bond, which we are very thankful the town passed, $1 million towards sidewalks, which sounds like a lot, but they're very expensive to construct, as well as CSG helping the town acquire funds through connectivity grants. We currently have our second connectivity grant in the last 5 years, and that is a grant that will help put sidewalks from the Chatham Court housing development across 66 so they can safely walk to school with their families or on their own. We've also tried to implement traffic calming measures. This is one of our big focuses, is trying to change the culture of not trying to drive as fast as you can to get where you need to go, but being very aware of the speed limit. Maybe there's some pedestrians, maybe there's cyclists. Being aware that we need to drive safely. So we recommended the purchase of electronic speed signs, which the town did purchase, and Public Works Director Bob Shea has been fantastic in getting them set up. We now have some data that he has said has shown that the traffic, that speeds have been reduced because of these, we feel because of these speed signs. So we had 2 original ones that were purchased by the town, but we were recently given free of charge 2 additional speed signs from the Yukon T2 Center, which is the Training and Technical Assistance Center, and they gave them to Portland because of our efforts in Complete Streets and calming the traffic. And these are not inexpensive. I'll say they're maybe $5,000 to $10,000 each, so let's say $15,000 to $20,000 worth of signs. So we're very happy about that. One has been installed on Bartlett. Maybe you've seen it by the old phone company. Bob Shea is currently working to put the other one on Main Street, I believe in front of the Historical Society. But because it's a state road, there's other hoops that he has to go through, and he's working on that now. We were very excited last fall when the town of Portland was one of only 10 cities and towns in the entire nation to receive a National Roadway Safety Award from the U.S. Department of Transportation. Portland was one of 3 honorable mention awardees for the work that the town and CSG have done together. We've worked together to make our streets more complete. And in a few minutes, I'll just give you a couple copies of the write-up in the book for the 10 awardees. So what are we working on now? We are planning to begin a PACE car program. Have any of you heard of a PACE car program? Okay, we didn't know much about it either until recently. It's another traffic calming measure where residents like myself, hopefully you, will sign a pledge that you will drive safely and courteously. You'll follow the speed limit, you'll look for pedestrians, you won't text, and once drivers sign this pledge, which of course is not legally binding, we will give them a little sticker, Portland Pace Car, that they'll put in the rear of their window, and as you're driving behind one of these, hopefully they're driving safely, it will be a model for others to encourage their safe driving. Northampton is doing this, New Haven is doing this. They say it doesn't take a lot of people to take the pledge and be the models that can, again, begin to change, or continue to change the culture. So we're working on that now, and I hope all of you will consider participating. We'll, of course, be promoting it in the River East and social media, and maybe even personally calling you and asking you if you'll participate. So that's my brief summary. We've done other things, but mostly I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on Complete Streets, see if you have any questions, see if you have any thoughts about future projects that we can work collaboratively with the town. Again, we've been working really well with the town. First Selectman Bransfield, and now first Selectman Ryan Curley, and Bob Shea has been just a fantastic partner. So I'm going to stop talking and see what thoughts you have.
Yes, I have a statement or a question.
Yes.
So I was there when you were proposing the Complete Street program. I was at those meetings, and I was also there when they adopted the program.
Great.
And I remember you doing your presentation and your vision for Portland, and it was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, like, has your vision come to fruition? Have you noticed a change in Portland since you implemented the program? And also, from the original presentation, about a percentage-wise of how far along are you of where you would like to be in Portland?
That's a very good question. And your name is?
Oh, Michael Hernandez.
Mike. Okay, I don't know you, Mike. Great question. I think it's a work in progress. I don't think we'll ever be done. And sometimes I think, oh, we haven't accomplished that much. But when we receive this award and when you see this write-up of what a small town of Portland has done, I'm very proud of what we've done. I know our members, I'll speak for myself, I've changed my driving habits. You know, I had never even heard of Complete Streets 8 years ago, but becoming more aware of, you know, the dangers that you can impart to other people by your driving. It's about cultural change, and I would say all members of our group certainly feel that, and we've talked to other people who have changed their habits as well. Bob Shea, as I mentioned, has gotten the data from the speed signs. He said that there has been a decrease in the average speeds in those areas where the signs are. He also said there's been a decrease in the number of accidents. I haven't seen that data, but you know, that was really very encouraging. He is on I think a statewide traffic committee that he's done one presentation, and Ryan and I are going to another one on January 29th. So we are being looked at as a model for the changes that we've made. One big thing, Mike, is, as John Hall, one of our members, would say, the biggest change to drivers' habits is road design. If you can narrow the traffic, the lanes, the width of the lanes, you can reduce the lanes. That makes you drive slower. Those are big projects, of course, big dollars. The River Cog did a Route 66 corridor study for $300,000 that just recently was completed. There's many big and small projects in that, but they cost a lot of money. I would love to see our Main Street be redesigned. Fewer lanes. Right now it's, as you know, 2 in each direction. People go fast. You reduce it to 2 in one turning lane, and people will slow down. So that's kind of a long answer to your question. We've done a fair amount, but we have more to do.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
Oop.
Can we stop?
Yep,
I
sure.
gotta get sound back on.
Okay, we're gonna have to take a pause. There's no sound on Zoom apparently.
Oh, okay.
So.
Do they have to read my lips?
You gotta start all over
Oh,
again.
No, it's,
I have to start all over again.
Yeah, Bobby texted me.
Texted me too.
He said here.
I just saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Said he's signing off. It's a date.
He said he's signing off.
It's a date. So come back down.
Kathy, do you have any of those stickers at all for the Pace card?
Not yet. We're calling East Northampton to see if we can basically borrow what they're
Yes.
doing in terms of the pledge as well as the
There you
stickers.
go.
So,
So count me in on that.
okay.
That
Oh,
was right.
fantastic. Let me just pass those down.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Okay.
Sounds like a great idea.
Mhm. That's what it would look. really simple program. So it's short pledge, or, do it online or send it in and get the sticker and that's
You just talked out. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? I think we're having some technical.
Not now, Hal.
Hello, testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Check one, check.
Check.
Check, 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 check. Sounds like a guy that used to run a band. Check, check.
I'm sure Dave's been here before.
Dave did our wedding.
Really?
Just, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Did your aunt work in Dr. Grover's office that used to be next door?
I can't hear.
Your aunt, she was a secretary for one of her brothers, a dentist?
Yes.
I remember as a kid, right where the sling is now, was Dr. Grover's office. Was that one of the offices she worked in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It used to be his office, right?
Yeah.
Where the parking lot is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When he was downtown.
When I first got married, I went to him for my dental work, and he'd call me up on a Sunday, and he would take care of me. And, my father was a butcher, so we would bring steak, and give him a steak, and he'd take care of my teeth.
Wow.
And my wife said, "What are you taking a steak for your dental work?" I said, "It's a family thing." Yeah. Little bartering. Yeah. And she's doing well.
God bless her.
Yeah. But she loves the Historical Society, life member.
I remember your aunt, I was involved in the society when I was in high school. A bunch of us were involved, yeah.
And she always talks about, I talked about, who's this guy, Ryan Curley? and she said, "Oh, I know Patty." And so she wanted to know, I said, "John Dillon's on the board."
I know Bernie.
How have you guys survived the last year with the COVID thing and everything?
Rob, John,
Right.
I was talking to Officer Millardo before this, I think, I'll give you guys a heads up, but I think at the next February meeting, we're gonna go to executive session.
I heard
with the
that,
police
yes.
department, our annual one with them. So if you guys have any questions between now and then to ask, but just to give you a heads up, he said that he's gonna
Is
call
it true?
for.
Ronnie told me he's retired, coming up soon.
Yeah, he was just saying, by the end, well, he's gonna wait till the end of the year, so they can train, they wanna add another police officer,
a lot of the trails,
budget for another officer. So he wants to be in the transition.
What's the,
13, I guess.
Lucky kid.
And he's gonna explain that all
But still,
to us in 2 weeks, but, I figured I'd give you a heads up, so if you guys have any concerns or things, give you a little time to digest it. Because I don't know when it'll get put on the agenda, a couple of days before we see it.
Right.
But I figured the more noise you have,
It's just going through so much right now. I mean, everyone's going.
yeah, talk freely and just ask the questions.
Yeah, so, my last board is like meeting the next morning.
Yeah, right.
I just had scratchy throat, and but just being at home, just pulling this out. Like watching Netflix all day, that's worse than being sick. Oh yeah, no, it was just, I was tired a couple days and that was it, yeah, it was pretty simple, so. But, yeah, yeah. She's doing good. She's doing good. She's still trying to figure out. She's finishing up her first year at Middlesex, and but she wants to go away to UMass next year. So that's what we're looking at right now. So, but she helped her down. She worked. She worked at Sinners on Main. So she does a couple more. She's got 5 classes starting next week or whatever.
Well, we
so,
have, and we have
but
a
she's
member
happy with it. And
coming
we have
to
a close
us.
to it's about what she
Hello?
wants to do for right now. She wasn't ready to,
No?
with everything going on, ready to go away yet, so. Yeah, pretty much, pretty much, you know, and it's kind of got her used to it. It's a good transition. So, that's it, you know, better than spending 50 grand and, you know, not knowing exactly what you want to do.
So, I
you know,
mean,
so.
They're going, they
He
probably
those
have
kids
to
that
defer
got
their
really
major
late.
fare.
You know, since
I
he's like
know.
7
So
or 8,
that's
so
what
him
we-
and his mom. But he
So-
stopped by the other day with his mom and just asked about
That's
that.
what we can talk, I mean, we can
Right,
change
yeah.
it, we can do.
Well, the
you know.
one
Right,
thing
okay,
that
good.
it did talk about in there,
Yeah.
it gave as an
I
example,
told him
we
to
had
talk
them
to his
years
advisor,
ago,
but he's kind of a shy
was
kid, so-
lawn tractor pulls,
So, but that's good
which
to know.
are,
So,
there's a lot of people that watch
Yeah, that's
those,
awesome. That's
and
awesome.
they're a lot less dangerous than, you know,
Right.
a 4x4 pickup
Right.
truck, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's,
And
There are-
he gives
there
a
are
really good
alternatives.
price.
we can think of
Right.
creative
You know, food's a
solutions,
great
yeah,
price.
Yeah.
certainly, yeah. Now, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I remember at the fairs, you'd have a guy that, from the Fair Association would come by, you know, he wouldn't
It's
tell you
good.
when,
We were just about to
and you
start a
see him
bunch of
walk
classes
around
like
with
2
his
weeks ago.
checklist.
And then, you know, I
And
got
they're,
COVID,
they're
and
counting
then everyone
animals,
got it.
they're checking if you've got
Jen in
pulls,
our
they're checking all
in
that
the
stuff,
studio,
and if
she
you
got
don't meet it,
Alicia, one
you're
of her
on
students, you know,
probation, and if you don't
so
meet
we're
it
not gonna
again,
restart until March.
you're out of
But
the
we're still doing
association.
classes, like there's still stuff going on there. But, you know,
Well,
just kind of minimizing
you
it
know,
for now. But it's going good. And I love my
mentioned
space. We
that
finished,
in his
we
email,
finished up
you know,
most
I
of the
would've
work. They
thought
gotta
that he
do,
would
have a
address
band that
Yeah.
practices
you know,
downstairs
which was
too.
interesting.
well, it struck me
We've got the
that
band down there. I've
they
got
really
the fitness center done.
don't wanna
We're adding
give
a bathroom, so it's
on
going good.
anything that they've
So I'm
got,
happy
and my
about it.
thought would be,
I gotta make my husband sweat again. I gotta make him sweat and cry.
it would seem that we wanna keep it going, you know?
Watching you.
Can I just take that home and then I'll go?
Oh, yeah, here,
So-
hold on.
I'll show it to my wife.
Yeah, of course. You might have to start the meeting over though,
Oh, yeah? So I'll have to repeat everything I said.
That's right.
No,
Remember it.
it's going out on YouTube, but we're having a problem with the Zoom.
Okay, so. Do we want to tell people to go to YouTube? so that they can?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
Are we gonna tell?
And then we can carry on with the meeting.
A sign?
I mean, I'm cleared until midnight, so.
How are we gonna tell
You
them?
make this work.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's right.
Just write it down on a piece
Yeah.
of paper and hold
Oh,
it
you-
up.
You can do a message.
Put in the chat, yes.
Yeah, a message in the chat.
I just texted Bobby to tell him to go to YouTube.
Well, will he be
Thanks
able
for
to
your
speak on
patience.
YouTube?
I know, he won't be able to vote on
Yeah,
anything.
Always,
No.
Hopefully
always
he
something.
answers his text, or reads his text.
You know, I noticed that everything was fine until you started talking, Kathy. I mean, I don't think they're connected at all, but could that be?
You mean they did hear my talk, or they didn't?
No, everything worked until you started talking, so I'm not sure.
Blaming it on me, no?
Yeah, no, I'm blaming on Mike down the other end. Sorry about that.
So did we put that in the chat?
I did, I put that in the chat.
Don't even swear.
That's why I just be pushing
He's doing
buttons.
good. I've had some four-letter words come out of my mouth right about it.
Start writing things on pages, holding them up. Our top story tonight.
Are there, can we, Phil, can we tell how many people are on YouTube watching?
There's 4.
Okay. How many were on before?
17 on.
There were 17 on Zoom, now there's 12 on Zoom.
Okay. We're not gonna be able to have any participation though from,
From our board members.
yeah,
too.
was, because we have Bobby who was, you know, virtual, and then, I don't know, was Dan Bertram on? Did you see him on?
No. I don't
He wasn't on? Okay.
You might log in after.
Alright. Yeah, alright, we're gonna switch it over into YouTube, and then, I'll keep working on it, I don't know. Well, the board had here last night, but changed things around, so.
We should have someone, they call you if they. Put the phone up there. As we done on, as we doing a library call, someone calls in and.
Oh, man.
All right, are we back, Dave?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're
And-
live on YouTube, so.
All right. So, the time is 8:04. We're coming back from a break. Kathy Heron is here talking about complete streets. Sorry for the sound troubles, Kathy, but so we were going around. Did anybody else have questions for Kathy while she's?
I just want to compliment Kathy and Complete Streets on their sidewalk work. Many who know me know I've lived in the downtown area all my life, and I'll be honest, in the last few years, the number of walkers and children with backpacks, young families with strollers, and everything in between, dog walkers, I think it's been exponentially larger in the East Main Street, Spring Street, Waverly, Freestone area, which I think is great. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's great to hear, because I don't live in that area, so I'm not seeing that traffic. Good. Thank you, guys.
And Kathy, I just want to say thank you and all of Complete Streets for all of your work. I know this work trickles down into so many different areas. You guys played such a role in sustainable CT, I believe, as well. And I know that cars are traveling safer and slower with those speed signs, and people are walking better with new sidewalks. So it's a good thing, and we're glad that you're able to come and speak and keep up the great work that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Ren.
All right, I think, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
And sorry about the interruption.
That's okay.
Do we have any public comment? Anyone in the audience?
Did they send any chat?
All right. Moving on then to old business, the monthly report. Every month at our second monthly meeting, we have a report from the Committee on Solidarity, an update. I believe April Graves is unable to attend tonight's meeting, but Mike Hernandez, I believe you have an update for us?
Yep, so I'm the liaison for the Solidarity Committee, and I went to their last meeting, and what the discussions were, they're gonna have a survey coming out, Survey Monkey for the residents of Portland. They're gonna ask multiple questions about Solidarity in Portland, and that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. They began planning the Juneteenth celebration at the Riverfront Park. The date of that will actually be on Saturday, June 18th, time to be determined, but that's the beginning stages of that. And then they will be reaching out to the Board of Ed on youth forum ideas, gather the youth of Portland for them to express their concerns and ideas on solidarity in Portland. And then they are also collaborating with the library on solidarity-based educational events. So they will be running programs with the library and planning some pretty neat events coming up in the future here of Portland. So that's all I have to report on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Looking forward to Juneteenth again this year. Next up, we have a resolution that's in your packets regarding the Portland Agricultural Fair in 2022. I know we've had some discussions here with the board about the Portland Fair and holding the fair at Portland's Riverfront Park, as well as some of the properties that we own at 222 Brownstone Avenue and 230 Brownstone Avenue. So I know that Don Bascom was unable to join us at tonight's meeting, and I believe the fair committee, the association has a meeting tonight that conflicted with our meeting. I did send the current resolution. I know I sent it to the Board of Selectmen, but I also sent it to the Fair Association for them to take a look at this past week. And so it's the same resolution that was in front of us at our last meeting, except with a couple changes. The 248 Brownstone Avenue is not listed in this resolution as a space that's available for the fair, that will be available for the fair. And that's because we have an RFP that is scheduled to go out, and we are trying to develop that property and remediate it for economic development for the town. And there's a chance that, and we hope, that we'll have a business that's interested in this property, and that we can get going with further development on 248 Brownstone Avenue. And then the other change that was added to this resolution is regarding truck pull events or vehicle events, and that is item 6 on this resolution. And moving a fair is not, an easy thing to do, especially one that hasn't been held in 2 years. And the space that we have in town is somewhat limited, as opposed to where the association currently was or had been at the Portland Fairgrounds. So by removing the truck pull events, my thinking was that they would be able to condense the fair, and it would be able to fit in the property that we have easily. And we'd still be able to have the midway, provided that we did get the approval from DEEP. And we did hear a little bit of good news on that front. I have an email from Kevin Neary with DEEP that says that the department is going to need in order to use 222 and 230. They're going to need a one-page letter stating what steps that the carnival company will take to not expose soil, and a description of the depth and concentrations of impacted soil. So they do need a soil impact report. However, the good news is that in the email they said that this letter can come from either Ty and Bond or Don Bascom with the Fair Association. So we wouldn't have to necessarily pay Ty and Bond to do that for us.
The letter from Don regarding the soils?
Yeah, that's what it says in the email. So that would take care of that cost that we had talked about at our last meeting. So that's good news, I mean, provided that we get the sign off from DEEP to use 220 and 222 Brownstone Avenue. But at least, you know, hopefully we'll be, you know, be able to offer those two properties. So the resolution is before you. It can be changed and amended, you know, but I wanted to hear the thoughts from you, the board, as far as what your thoughts are with this.
Do you want to make a motion right now to accept it and then have general discussion about it, or do you want to talk about it first?
We can do that if you want to.
I'll just make a motion as proposed in front of it, like, if everyone's had a chance to look at it.
We should read it into the record.
You want to read it, or do you want to say as proposed in front of us? Either way, you do it.
Yeah, either way, I mean.
If everyone's had a chance to read it,
Okay.
then I'll just say as presented in front.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the resolution as proposed in front of us to accept it, the resolution. Entitled Resolution Portland Agricultural Fair 2022.
And I'll second that.
Okay, Mike Peltman seconds the motion. Mike Hernandez introduced the resolution. So there's a second, motion been made, and there's a second. So we'll move to discussion. So
Now, has there been any indication from the Fair Association about their feelings about this as it's written?
So I have a letter from Don, an email that says that. Don says, thanks, Ryan. This is a very restrictive resolution. It will be very costly to the fair for a temporary move. We will be canceling the helicopter, mud bog, street poles, modified poles, antique tractor poles, and garden tractor poles. We're going to have a meeting with the Fair Association tonight to decide how to move forward. So,
What piece of property were they proposing to use for the motorized poles?
they were proposing to use the park, the Brownstone Park. I believe they were the parking lot of the park, and they were going to. The proposal was to use 248 Brownstone Avenue to stage the trucks, and then pull them through, by the Coast Guard driveway.
So just for fresh in my memory, 248 is the parcel immediately towards the bridge from the Coast Guard site, right?
Yes, correct. Yep. And that's the one that we're doing the remediation work
Right.
as well. So without, the use of 248 to stage those trucks, it's gonna. And this is where space with this site becomes an issue.
Yeah, there's no place for them to put the vehicles on the current footprints we've talked about.
Right.
I don't even know if they came with a second.
Because I believe, well, I looked it up yesterday. Starting the lawnmower. I looked up yesterday, as you all know, I was a member of the association for a long time, and I remember there are requirements to being a Fair Association member in good standing. And we were classified, and I believe still are, as a major fair. I looked for the document because I can remember there was always an individual that came by when you least expected it from the Fair Association who would come around with a clipboard, and he would be checking to make sure that you had all the things that were required, the animals, the plants, the vegetables, the entertainment, the rides. And I found a document yesterday, and it did say that you need an animal poll. If that is the most recent document, you're required to be certified a major fair. One of the things you need is an animal poll, which I think we usually do with the oxen. Mm-hmm. And you need a motorized poll or event. They referenced truck polls, they referenced mud bog, they referenced demolition derby, and they referenced, as an example, lawn tractor polls. You know, my only concern, you know, I know there's some concern about liability for the town and all of the things associated with that. But, you know, I would hate to see us lose the fair in its entirety if there were things that we could do just to maintain those requirements. You know, and one of the things that Don Bascom says they were gonna eliminate is the lawn tractor poles. You know, and I know it isn't the fair that they wanna put on, and I get it, that we spent years building that fair up to what it is, but, you know, if it's a difference between putting on a fair and losing a fair, and there's a way, I don't know what the staging is required for lawn tractors, for example, but, you know, I would hope that they may consider what we proposed here with some modifications.
That's an excellent point, John. You know, I think that, I know that this board has been working to make sure that we have a fair. I know, I don't want the fair to lose their status as an agricultural fair. So, I think that, you know, we can think creatively, you know, for a solution. We can modify, if it's the board's wish, we can modify, item 6 on the vehicle or truck poles to, you know, maybe allow for the types of pole that.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's, you know, I'm only thinking strictly by the size.
Mhm.
And I just throwing the lawn tractor out there, because it was one of the items that was listed in that Fair Association document. And it would seem to me, I remember, that when some of these folks come in with those lawn tractors, they can remember large trailers, because they bring in more than one tractor at a time. But nonetheless, I mean, if that allows you, that the tractors are smaller, if it allows them to just pull in, unload the tractors, and park at a distant location, I mean, there are possibilities. I want all those explored before if they choose to not have it, I guess that's the association's choice, but I would like to see an opportunity to put it on in some other variation if we could do it.
Yeah, it seems like 6 would be contrary to the requirement.
Yeah.
So the way it's worded,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how we have to change it to word it so it would.
What I would do is like accept the resolution as proposed, but them come up with like a modification to number 6, and then at a later meeting, so they can get rolling with the fair,
Mhm.
and then we can modify 6 when they say, all right, we want to accept vehicles under, I don't even know, 125 cc or lawnmowers, or whatever the qualification is.
Right.
They can come back to us, and then we can make the adjustment at a later date. Seeing that there's nobody here to represent them, but
Right.
let's get the resolution.
And based
going.
on what Don has written to you, maybe there's more to it than just that issue. Maybe there's others that might make it difficult for them, I don't know, but that one just jumps out at me because that I know that's a major fair requirement, but if there's a way we can find some way to do it in a smaller footprint, in a safer manner.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be all for that. I do want to say that I've taken this resolution, and we do have an agreement that was drafted up by our town attorney. I also went through our town insurance, Kerma, to get the numbers that you see for the requirements for insurance. And so there's been a lot of behind the scenes work to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure a fair in 2022, but we're also making sure that we're doing everything correct for the town as well. And so in regards to item 6 on this resolution, Mike, what would you propose that?
I propose we keep the resolution as is, but we will be open-minded to a modification at a later date by Don, and checking with our insurance to see if that's okay to do it.
If you're willing, Mike, to modify your
My motion.
motion, I'll second that motion, and we can put that on the floor. Basically, you're accepting this, but you'll accept it with the association's ability to come back to us with a counter proposal that we can discuss.
Okay.
You know?
So, any more discussion on this?
No.
I'll-
Do we, I just want to ask, Dave, do we have any correspondence with our recording secretary?
I don't see Sharon, is Sharon?
Yeah, that's one of my concerns. I just want to make sure that Sharon is
Sharon's
getting.
not. Well, I cannot tell who's on, but she's not on the Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, we have 10 people watching on YouTube.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, this is kind of an odd.
Yeah, so I like what you're saying, why don't you make the motion then?
I'll let Mike make it, and I'll
All right, and
second.
then correct me if I missed something, but, all right, so I would like to retract my previous motion and make a new motion for the resolution for the Portland Agricultural Fair 2022 to accept this as presented, minus number 6.
I think, are you amending the
Just
resolution?
leave 6 and let them come back.
Yeah, just
I wanna-
Yeah.
we'll propose that we approve this resolution as written with the understanding that the association could come back to us at a future date, and we can entertain modifications to it. Yeah, I think-
All right, you make the motion, I'll second.
Okay, that's my,
You
that's
got it,
my
you know how
motion.
you're saying it. So So John's gonna make the motion, and
My motion would be that we approve the resolution from the Board of Selectmen dated January 19, 2022 for the Portland Agricultural Fair of 2022, as written, with the understanding that the Fair Association could come back to the Board of Selectmen with proposed modifications to this agreement, and we could entertain such
It has to be an
modifications.
amendment, though. I think because the resolution's been proposed and seconded, we have to take a vote. I think we have to amend the resolution.
Okay, so you want to just vote on the fact that what's on the floor now?
I want to just amend and add with the stipulation,
Okay, all right.
and add that. So if you want to make an amendment to the resolution.
Well, see, the thing is, we don't necessarily know what
Mhm.
their amendment is
No,
going to be.
with leaving the door open for,
Yeah, we would leave open the opportunity for the Fair Association to approach the Board of Selectmen with a proposed change or changes to the
amendment.
amendment,
Okay.
to the resolution.
Door.
Just want to give them an opportunity to come back should they choose.
All right, and then Mike,
I'll second, yep.
Okay.
Mike Hernandez, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Thank you guys. Next up is item C, request for 1-month extension to amended and restated agreement to fix assessment on real property, Brainerd Place, and resolution authorizing the first selectman to send notice of default of fixed assessment agreement. So at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, if you'll recall, Dan Bertram of VRT DeMarco came and talked about the progress that's been going on with Brainerd Place. And I am pleased to report that there is progress. They're moving forward. Since our last meeting, you'll see some houses have been demolished on Perry Avenue, and also there's new fencing surrounding the site. And as we stated last time, they have also paid their OSTA bond to the state, and so which was one of the stipulations that was in the fixed assessment agreement that you'll recall that the previous Board of Selectmen had signed and approved back in October. And of those, and we talked about it last time, there were 3 items that had to get done, that BRT had to get done by December 31st of 2021. And that was posting that bond required by OSTA. It was filing for the building permit for Building E, which is the large, first of the large buildings with the apartment units, and also merging the parcels together into one piece. So of those three items, one has been completed so far. And so Dan had asked for this board to give them a 1 month or a 30-day extension on that agreement. And so last meeting, Dan talked about that, and so looking into that, I reached out to our counsel on this, and it turns out that, in that agreement, there is a process for when items are not followed through. And so, or when BRT, in the event of a default of some of the contracted items. So 22A of that fixed assessment agreement explains the process. So in the event of a default by BRT and the performance of any of its obligations under this agreement, the town, after such default, shall give notice of such default to BRT by registered or certified mail, return receipt requested, postage prepaid, and addressed to BRT at the address provided herein. BRT shall thereafter have 60 days to cure such default, and upon such cure, the terms and conditions of this agreement shall remain in full force and effect. So basically what this is saying is that if BRT is not meeting their obligations, then we need to notice BRT properly, which then gives them 60 days to get in compliance. So essentially, by sending them a notice, we are giving them more than 30 days. We're giving them 60 days from the time of that notice. So, I am very grateful for the work that they've done so far, but we also have to follow this fixed assessment agreement that was just signed in late October. So I'm looking for permission from the board to send that notice to BRT. So I just want to get your thoughts on that as well.
It seems, well, obviously, required based on the agreement, but certainly seems to be, will work to what has to be handled here and that. He said he needed 30 days, so let's hope he's not going to go to 60 days and sneak it in at 59 and hope that it really is the 30.
No, I agree. I mean, the language of this contract was written in such a way to make sure that all parties are covered and held to the agreement, and it would seem that this is the proper protocol and the process to take.
Yeah. Written. I say
Would you like to move the resolution then,
Yes.
Sean?
Make amendment, a motion, sorry. Resolution Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, January 19th, 2022. Resolution authorizing the first selectman to send notice of default of fixed assessment agreement. Be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes Ryan J. Curley, first selectman, to act on sending notice of default of the amended and restated fixed assessment agreement dated October 14th, 2021, originally approved March 15th, 2017, between the Town of Portland and BRT DeMarco, PTP, LLC, in accordance with Section 22A of said agreement.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ralph. Sean made the motion, Ralph seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is the Re-Entry Committee, discussion of services and programs offered during COVID-19. So as I think you all are aware, the Board of Selectmen is the authority on the re-entry of various boards, buildings, and public buildings for as we recover from COVID-19. I know we're still in the thick of it, but with the new year, some issues came up that I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. So one of our boards in the land use office had requested to meet in person. They felt that they would like to meet in person and voted to do so. And I did not have a problem with them meeting in person, provided that the board wanted to. However, it was pointed out to me that it gets a little more complicated in the land use office, because if you have one board that's meeting in person and then you have one that's virtual, you end up maybe having to go to public and to in-person and virtual for different permits and things that come before those boards, or different applications, I should say, and so you really can't do that. So it's kind of got to be one or the other, and so I just wanted to get the board's take on this. I personally think that things have been working out pretty well so far. I would like to revisit the possibility of in-person dates that, at a future date, maybe look at, see how things are at our April 1st meeting, and then talk about that. But the problem is that if you go, it's expensive to do hybrid meetings, and so we really can't do hybrid for every board and commissions, in the land use office. So, so right now, my take is that we should stay with the status quo with what we've been doing. But what do you guys think?
I think the way where we are now with this variant or whatever, I think we should. I agree with you, Ryan. Maybe look at it again in April, see where we are. Maybe we can set a date moving forward from there, and then start working these boards off of Zoom and getting them in person.
Yeah, excuse me, I agree. I mean, I think it's given the situation we're in the middle of, it's, if you're gonna have to make an all or nothing decision, I think we'll err on the cautious and just, I think April 1 sounds like a good date to me. I'm hoping that we're gonna be in the back end of this, but we'll hope.
I agree. From what I've seen today, the state's numbers with this variant are starting to recede. But I know, weeks ago we were at 2 or 3%, and now recently we're over 27% or something. But I think we have to be cautious. Last thing we want to do is to inadvertently infect some people and create a problem. But I think April makes perfect sense to review.
Yeah, I had a chance to jump on the Chatham Health District site today, and where we were this time last year, we are 250% higher than where we were at this point last year. We're well above where we are. We were in more shutdown last year, so I think we should definitely err on the side of caution, wait till April 1st to revisit this. And my only question to you about the rest of the facilities is, what's the library and senior center doing right now?
So the library and senior center are open with masks required, as in all town buildings.
We might want to revisit with the head of the directors for those buildings, and maybe at our next meeting, and have them present to us like how are things going in their stuff, because I'm a little nervous about the seniors in this town. And
I know, and I've spoken to Lynn, and
yeah, we should throttle back maybe their programs for the winter.
She has made some adjustments. There's certain events that have been postponed or canceled. I think, and I've spoken with Russ Melmed at Chatham Health about this. The question came up of whether we should shut down the senior center for temporarily. Came after the holidays, when we had those spikes. And I asked Russ directly if we should do that. And I was told that, you know, at this point, at this stage in the game with COVID, the vast majority, or if not all of the seniors have been vaccinated. And also, they also know, you know, what risks are out there at this point as well. So Russ advised that we might not necessarily want to close the senior center, just be mindful of the events that we hold, maybe where there's eating, with people take their masks off, maybe try to limit those events. But he said really at this point, you know, that's not something that Chatham Health is recommending. And I know of no town in the district that had done so with either the library or with the senior center. So I do trust you know, Russ's opinion on that. So when he told me that did give me, you know, some peace of mind. I mean, nothing is, you know, we can't guarantee anything, you know, when it comes to COVID-19. But I think we are constantly wrestling with you know, safety versus, you know, having to live as well. So I think what Lynn and at the senior center and what Jan Nochik has been doing at the library, I think they've both been doing a very good job at you know, finding that balance. And I believe Jan was going to be on tonight's meeting to speak on that. You know, with our technical troubles, I don't know if she's available. But certainly maybe you know, she can address the board at an upcoming meeting to give an update. Because she was going to speak on, I believe, on what the library has for, you know, availability and what they've been doing, you know, lately, and give us an update on all of that. But that's a good point, Mike. Thank you. So we can move on from that if you guys are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Appointments, reappointments to boards and commissions. Do you have anything? Okay. The next item under new business is to act on a supplemental assistance agreement and resolution with the State Department of Economic and Community Development. This is DECD. And so you'll see a resolution in your packet. And so I've been working with DECD regarding our brownfields remediation project. And this is the grant money that we received, the $750,000 that the town had previously received to remediate 222, 230, and 248 Brownstone Avenue. And then towards the end of last year, the town had also been awarded a $375,000 additional topper grant to continue, you know, to fulfill that remediation request. And so one of the requirements with DECD is that the town has to formally accept the $375,000. And so that's what this resolution before you is. It's just, it's formally acknowledging that we have received it and making a motion to approve it. So if somebody would like to make a motion and read beginning as the whereas part into, and it would be whereas the Connecticut, strike out pursuant to.
I'll give it a person.
Yeah.
I'll attempt to make this motion.
Thanks, Rob.
So you're saying we could start.
Yep.
Whereas the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development is authorized to extend financial assistance for economic development projects, and whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the town of Portland, Connecticut make an application to the state for $375,000 in order to undertake the Brownstone Quarry project and to execute an assistance agreement. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Portland Board of Selectmen that, one, that it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed by CGS Section 32-763, and two, that the filing of an application for state financial assistance by the town of Portland, Connecticut, in an amount not to exceed $375,000 is hereby approved, and that Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman, is directed to execute and file such application with the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to provide such additional information, to execute such other documents as may be required, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Portland, Connecticut.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. And we can't wait to get to work on this, huh?
Yeah.
This is,
Getting closer.
getting very close. Refunds of excess payments, there are
Wow,
none
that's
tonight.
unusual.
It's
It's a first.
Everyone gets a break. Status and committee reports.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'll start with economic development. A few things to mention. Obviously, we've already talked about Brainerd. Noteworthy, Absolute Air is going to have a February 2nd grand opening of their add-on to their business. I actually had read in the planning and zoning minutes, I think, they're talking, I thought Portland Dental at the time of the meeting of economic development was going for final inspections, but I think they're closing in on having a February opening date, I thought, but they were going through final inspections. I definitely know that. So, Central Connecticut Arms is going through their state permit process. Burger Heaven actually was a soft opening on January 5th, and I know I've seen lots of comments made about that. Seems to be going well. They'll have a grand opening at a future day, but for now it's considered a soft opening. And the last thing that was noted was that the draft RFP that was being put together for Riverfront was being revised. We had a consultant that was working with us, made some suggestions of changes, and that was being done. That's economic development. Long-range capital got moved because it was the holiday, so they're meeting this upcoming Monday. The library had a special meeting last week to talk about what the director is going to put forward for the budget proposal for the library. So that was a good meeting. They talked about the needs, and so though it's not required, the directors approved what the director had put forward. So that was what happened. They're having their regular meeting, monthly meeting tomorrow. Park and Rec, I guess I'll speak to this one because obviously I know I've gotten questions about it. Ooh.
I know that guy.
Sounds familiar. Last week's meeting, actually 4 people did come to the meeting with questions about where it stood with the park. Obviously, they were all related to baseball and baseball's desire to go forward with some upgrades on the park. So what just because I didn't have the full details, I'll let you all know. So a letter has been prepared. Nate Foley prepared a letter that identifies the outstanding items. At this time, the outstanding items we're waiting on final park documentation because there's been changes made along the way, so we need as-is documentation. There is the activator button for the splash pad has to be replaced. They had indicated should be replaced, and we have the activator button, but that was when I said they suggested don't do it going into the winter, just replace it when you open up on the spring. And we're waiting for them to do a splash pad startup because that was part of the agreement, and at the times when they started up this previous year, it wasn't the full configuration because they made changes during the summer. So that's a startup for them to do and for the town staff to be able to see how to start up the system. And there is a water level sensor that needs to be installed in one of the tanks. So that has to be done. And the last thing was there's a couple trees that had died in the course of the year that were under warranty and need to be replaced. So that list has been prepared. It's been shared with, I think he shared it with the engineer and also with the developer. And also it's been shared with Ryan and with Tom Robinson, the finance director, because what has to happen is the town has to be feeling comfortable that if you are going to go forward with a punch list, that they're going to show up to actually do those items in order for us to close. You're going to have to make the final payment to Dorita and then close the project on the assumption that you're going to be comfortable with a punch list that they're going to come forward with. And that's right now, I would think that's what Tom Robinson is kind of evaluating. So that's where we stand, and from the standpoint of why it's critical is because right now, Little League is looking to, they would like to purchase and donate 3 scoreboards to the town. 2 of them would go at the new park site. The third one, I think, would go up on Rose Hill, I believe is where he said. So that's why they're so interested in knowing that, because we can't even take a donation. Because of the bonding restrictions, you can't even take a donation. So we need to get that resolved so that they could prepare for it, and that's why they were asking. They also talked about wanting to use the concessions. Using the concession stands is a little more complicated, but the Little League was going to put forward a proposal, at least to have a working document to begin the discussion on what have to happen in order to make use of the concession building. So that's related to the park. The only other things noteworthy that is that rec basketball was delayed a week. It did start up last week. I ran my K-2 program, and the other programs went as well. And just, it's a challenge. He's being challenged by being able to find people to even pay to work at the basketball games. He's having a real tough time finding staff. So I think he had a few last week. We haven't talked yet this week, but I think he was going to be set for last week, so hopefully we're going to be able to go forward and finish out rec with no issue. And the last thing for Park and Rec was, and we talked about it, was they were gonna, we know that there's a problem with the bridge out at the Reservoir Trail, and there was a meeting last Thursday that Ryan and a number of, and Nate, and I think some of the Park and Rec Commission members attended, and just talking with the group to see about how they can potentially re-establish the bridge that's been washed out by the beaver runoff of their dams. So there's a plan in place, probably wait later on, maybe a month or so out, when the conditions are right for them to be able to get equipment in there to move stuff around. So that is where that stands.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll follow that with 2 lines. I sat in on the Conservation Commission last week, and I just want to I want to welcome the new members, and I want to report that Norm Ward, who had been the chair, was reelected to chair, and I just want to again congratulate him and thank him for all his hard work over the years on that commission.
Thanks, John. I'll second that. Yeah, thank you to Norman and all the work that Conservation Commission has been doing. Any other updates? I just want to, under status and committee reports, I know that we had, at our last meeting, we had completed one distribution of the at-home test kits, and I don't think we had done a second one, but I just want to express my appreciation to Portland CERT team, as well as our fire department and our police department and emergency services for all of the work that they did in such a short amount of time to get test kits out into the hands of the public and those who needed it. And so I think that, you know, both events went off very well, especially, you know, given the short amount of time that we had. I know that we do still have some kits remaining. It's been posted on our website. I just want to, you know, say that if you haven't gotten a kit yet, it's still one per household, but we do still have some in the First Selectman's office, and we'll be giving them out as, you know, as while supplies last. And although I know there's a website now that the government has, the federal government has, where you can have them, you know, order them and they can get mailed to you as well. So that's another great thing coming. But I just wanted to say thank you to Portland CERT team and Don Goen too.
That website that you're referring to is www.covidtest.gov, if anyone out there is wondering how to access that for the
Thanks,
free
Mike.
COVID. Yep.
And we might be getting more test kits as well. I just don't want to announce after what happened. I'm not going to say anything until they are in hand. So anyway,
Hopefully
stay
it's a little
tuned.
warmer too the next time.
Yeah, a little cold last time. All right, I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Any public comment?
Yes, we have a public comment from Don Goen, saying that the senior center administrator is doing a good job in controlling of the exposure with the use of the PPE equipment. So I believe we should allow her to continue with her current program.
Thank you, Don. And no more public discussion?
No more comment.
All right. General informal discussion?
Just on something that Ralph said earlier about the Park and Rec Department and the private entities purchasing stuff for these new parks. Who's the final say on what can get approved to go at these new parks? Is it the Park and Rec Committee, or is it the Board of Selectmen that ultimately approves? I'm bringing this up because I heard you say scoreboards up at Rose Hill, and I know a lot of people enjoy Rose Hill and the views that it provides, and to have a scoreboard in the middle of that field blocking the serene of the river valley might be a little concerning. So I don't know who approves all these.
I would expect that the Park and Rec Commission is going to control what happens at the site, so I don't think that's a thing that would come before us. I think it's, if anyone has a concern, and again, I'm going off of, I believe it's Rose Hill, so don't hold me to it.
Oh, okay.
I could have sworn that was the third scoreboard, definitely the two at the new park, but
I just think there might be some pushback if, you have this
Yeah, I know you're
unsightly scoreboard at Rose Hill, if that is the place where it is. But
Yeah.
that was my main concern about what
yeah,
you said.
but it would go, if they have concerns, they should raise it to the
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the Board of Selectmen is the final body, for, that oversees, Parks and Rec, but it would go through Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And I just want, under informal discussion, to just apologize for those of you who may be watching from home and who may have been trying to watch and listen in on Zoom. I don't know what happened tonight. We had some technical difficulties, and they will be straightened out for next time. So I apologize. Follow-up items? I have nothing to report for the ethics ordinance or the town charter. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, John Dillon.
Thank you, John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And the time is 8:57.
Still 6 o'clock, still before 9 o'clock. Not bad.
Yeah,
with that
that's a
technical.
good
Right.
Wow, that's,
Covered a lot of material and got done by 9.
that's what happens with a break. With a